Wabakal, Darkinjung, Biripi, Warramai, Wonnarua and Eora nations, and all the lands that we're on today. We also pay respect to the wisdom of the elders past, present and emerging, and I would like to extend this acknowledgement and pay my respects to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. So again, thank you for attending this today. What we're going to be looking at is a whole lot of, we're going to be looking at a few different sections of EndNote. EndNote's such a multi-layered program that it's not possible to cover everything in a 1/2 to 3/4 hour webinar. So that's why we invite you, if you've got any complex questions, always send us an email or get in touch with us. At the end, I'll show you where you can get in touch. Otherwise, send some chats through and we'll see what we can do. So you can see what we're going to look at today. We're going to look at personalising some of the aspects of your EndNote library, doing some of the tidying up, making EndNote as effective and efficient for you as possible. Maybe adding and editing some of the reference styles that you've got, creating records from PDFs, bringing in some of those things that you've already saved as a PDF but haven't necessarily got as something in your library, using the find full text option, backing up your library. And then I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about EndNote Online and what's coming next, as well as EndNote for Word. Now I'm going to turn off my camera and we'll get going.
While you do that, Jenny, do you mind if I pop the first poll on?
Yes, sorry, Ben, I forgot about the poll. If you could just quickly answer the poll.
That's okay.
So have a look at the questions. If you could quickly answer those, that'd be great. That's wonderful. You're sending in some great responses.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks for that. That's great for you to be able to share that information with us. Okay. So the first thing that I was going to show you, I'll get my EndNote library up. So I've created an EndNote library that we're going to use just for this demo. Most of the time you will only ever need one EndNote library, because what you can be doing with one EndNote library is organising it in a multitude of ways that makes it very effective for you to use. But it also means that you've got all of your information all in one place. So you can see I've got some things in here. What you can start to do is to organise this so it suits your needs. And a simple thing that you can do is just to change some of these column headings. So you can see I've got a few column headings, and there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You've got this edit preferences section, and this will take you into a whole lot of different things that are sitting in behind all of this information in EndNote. Now, if you were wanting to change any of these titles across the top, all you need to do is go into display fields, and then you've got the option of naming any of these. You only get 10 columns across here. So what you would need to do is just to make it work for you. So there's a couple of ways, a couple of things that you can put in. You can put in a record number. We've already got reference type. You've got some blank fields here that you can be making work in whatever way you like. So that's one way. So that was coming into edit. Close that. Edit, Preferences, and Display Fields. Another quick way of doing it is just if you go up into this top field here, you can see that it turns blue as I hover my mouse over it. If you right click, you've also got the option to tick a few more fields. So this is quite a good place to come in, easy way of coming in. Now I must apologize to the Mac users. I'm using a PC here, so some of the commands will be slightly different in a Mac. We do have information for Mac users. So let's go down and see what else. Name of database might be something good to have as well. So I'm going to tick that. And you can see now that my columns have been added. Sorry, I'm just trying to drag that across. So you can see now I've got a number of different things here. This is all really good information. And you can change any of these at any point. If you don't want them to be these particular titles, you can go back in either into our Edit, Preferences, Display Fields, or simply right click. Now, the other thing you can do is if you're wanting to see something a bit, you're seeing that this is red or unread, this one, you can always just click on the blue bit, drag it across and put it wherever you like. You might want to know that what the reference type is. Bring that across to there. We seem to be missing our database. No, there it is there. Oh, there it is here. It's moved here. So I might just move that back across to there. All right, so you can drag and drop those in any way that you like. The other thing that's quite important is to be able to make sure you're opening the EndNote library that you want whenever you come into your EndNote library. And again, that's in Edit, Preferences. This time we're going to click on Libraries. Now, I do have another EndNote library because I do give demonstrations. But what I want to do is make sure, so you can see this one is not this one. What I'm wanting to do is to make sure that this EndNote library is the one that's going to open up every time I come into my EndNote program. So you can see Open Specified Libraries. And then we want that to say Open Specified Libraries. We're going to add Open Libraries. And you can see, and you want to apply and OK. So what will happen now, if I came into my EndNote program, which I keep little tag down the bottom here, it will always open to this one. So that was Edit, Preferences, Libraries, Open Specified Libraries. You can see you've got a few different things, and it's Open Specified Libraries. Make sure the library is open that you're wanting and add Open Libraries, and you will get that there. Okay. So this is all just to help to streamline everything that you're working on in your EndNote. The other thing that you can do, Edit, Preferences, is that as you bring in some PDFs, you can have, I'll just go back here, go in here, PDF. You'll be able to see the PDF in here. Once we start attaching PDFs over in this section here, you can actually have particular things that this will display in this section. And you can have it as the author year. If you want to see the title of the PDF, you could tick that one. But I'm just going to go author year. So again, that was in our Edit, Preferences, PDF handling. There you go, apply and OK. And once we start to bring in some of the PDFs, you'll see what will happen. Your PDF will display here, and it will have the author and the year. So the next thing you can do, if you want to store some more information about references, if you want to put in some quotes or comments, you can use labels or you can use some notes in here. Again, we're going to go into Edit Preferences. We're going to go in this time into reference types, and we can have a look at customizing all of the fields. Where are we going? Sorry, modify reference types. And you can scroll down. So you can see that I've chosen journal article. In one of these customized fields, you can add something that you would like to call it. So you can add whatever it is there. So we'll call it, let's just call it tags. So you apply to all reference types, and then whatever it is, the reference type, it's not just going to be journal articles, it'll be all the reference types. So we're going to say apply to all reference types and OK. And then what will happen, we'll go apply. OK. Now, if I was to open up one of these references now, I would find here's my tags. And, people understand the word tags better than maybe labels or something like that. So in here, you can be putting in things that have been tagged to that particular article. So again, that was in our edit, preferences, reference types, and modify reference types. Again, if you didn't want to have all of the reference types showing, cancel that. When we go into a reference, so I'm just going to create a new reference. So in here you have multiple things that you can choose from. You may not want all of those because some of them are never going to relate to what you're going to be working on. So what you can do in the edit preferences section, you can hide some of those unwanted reference types. So what you would do, again, we're going into modify reference types. And you can see it's giving you a clue here as to what you want to hide. And what you're doing is you'll put a period or a full stop or something in front of a reference type that you know you're never going to use. So in your drop-down box, I'm going to choose television episode. My research, I'm never, ever going to be needing to put television episode in. So if I click in front of here and put a full stop and go, OK, now television episode is not going to turn up in any of my selections in that reference. The other thing you can do is you can change whatever the default type is for the manual references that you're making. The default for EndNote is, so I'll just cancel that. If we were to go to a new reference, the default for EndNote is always to come in as a journal article. Now you can change that default if that's going to be easier for you. I can go to edit, preferences, and what we want to do is we're going to go into reference types again. And then see how it says default reference type is journal article. You can make it something else. So if you're doing a whole lot of books, say you're referencing books a lot at the moment, you can set your default for the new reference that comes up as book. So these are only when you're doing a reference, a manual reference, not the ones that are being brought across from a database. This is if you go in and create a brand new reference. And to do that, you can either click on references, new reference, or you just in the body here of the library, you right click and you've got new reference, and it will open up with this field and you're able to start creating a manual reference. And you will need to do that for certain references because they won't be automatically created. All right. So there's a lot of things in this edit preferences section that you can be looking at and changing.
Jenny?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We've just got a question. I'm not sure if you'd like to answer it now or later. But Kieran is asking, I want to use the same library on another computer as well as this one. How do I do that without EndNote behaving like it doesn't like this? It might be something you're covering later. So
Yes, so I'll be talking about having the facility to have EndNote. You can save EndNote in a couple of different ways so that if you then go and work on another computer, you can just be downloading that EndNote onto this other computer. And most of the time, all of the preferences that you've saved as part of this, so if you'd gone through and done all the things that I've done now, they will come across once you open that EndNote on another library. So yes, I am going to be looking at that
okay,
in a little while.
Okay,
Thanks,
great.
Kieran.
Thanks.
Thanks, Zoe. All right. So the next thing, we want to clean up our EndNote library. So you can see here, there's a couple of things that you can do again with these columns. I'll just bring that across. You can see that we've got any of these columns, if you are to click on them, it puts things in alphabetical order. So you've got all of your articles now in alphabetical order. Now you can start to see that I've got a few things that have been duplicated. I've been going off into different databases and thinking, gee, that's a good article. And actually I've already got it. You can do the same with authors. Have I got lots of things by the same authors? And you can go through and see if you've got things by the same author. So just clicking into the tops of these columns helps you to sort things out. Same with the year. You wanted to see how many things have I got. Those ones don't even have a year. So you can see these are all the most recent things here. Now, to make sure you clean up duplicates, you can go in and deduplicate things. And where you do that is in this all references. So this is like your entire library. You're able to see all of your references in this all reference section. And this is where you would come in to deduplicate. And in order to deduplicate, again, we're going to go into our edit, preferences, and you can see that you've got the option here to duplicate, to fix the duplicates. But what you're wanting to make sure is that you're going to only get rid of things that are by the same author in the same year and the same title. And then to deduplicate, what you want to do is we'll select all, so just Control all. And we're going to go into references and find duplicates. And then what it will do, it will start to highlight, it'll bring up this chart, and it allows you to see why it's picked up these as a duplicate. And what will happen is that there'll be certain fields that are duplicated. This is just an entirely duplicated. All of the fields are exactly the same. So you get to choose whether you want to keep this record or you want to keep this record. So I'm just going to keep this record. And then it will go through each of them and get rid of the duplicates. Another way you can get rid of the duplicates very quickly, but you use this with caution, is if you click cancel, it then highlights, so if I'd had a bigger list of duplicates, it would highlight in blue the duplicate of the other record. And you can see these two are exactly the same. If you had lots and lots, as I said, do this with caution. You can just delete a whole lot of duplicates all at once, and all you need to do is hit the delete button on your computer, and it gets rid of the duplicate. And it tells you duplicate references are there, and it's taken it out of here. And if I, again, put these in alphabetical order, you can see that I don't have any duplicates at the moment. However, these two are duplicates. But why it's left that there is because it's seen one is an electronic book section and one is a journal article. So it's picked up that it's not exactly the same, but we know that it's exactly the same. So again, you could just pick the one that you think is going to be the one that you want. And then the one that you don't want, you simply highlight and click delete. So doing this find duplicates isn't always going to get rid of everything. So you need to still be going through. And again, you can see these ones have stayed as well. And that's because there's different journals mentioned here. So do a manual check as well. So that's finding the duplicates. Now, all of these references are still up here. You can see that they're all unfiled. That means that I haven't put them anywhere. They haven't been given any other location. And what you can be doing is to create groups to help to organize your EndNote library even more. So there's two ways that you can do that. You've got My Groups, and if you just wanted to create groups underneath that, you just create a group, you call it whatever you want, you can keep creating groups. The other way you can do things is up here in groups. You can create a group set, and it will create an entirely new group here. And this is particularly helpful if you're doing your thesis or you're working on a particular assignment. Etc., etc. So that's group sets. Now, within each of these group sets, you can then go in and create a group, a subgroup. So we'll call this, I don't know, management. Oh, spell it correctly. And in this one, you could create a group underneath it, and this might be a section, or it might be somebody who's contributing to that part of that assignment. And then once you've created some of these groups, you come back to your all references, and you can start to add just by dragging and dropping any of these articles, references into any of these groups. Now, they're in these groups, but they have also remained in your all references. So you could delete them out of any of these groups and they would still stay in this all reference. So this is the bulk of your library. This is where all of your references stay, but then you can start to organize them into different groups here. The only time that you will get rid of a reference entirely out of your EndNote library is if you've got the all references selected and you highlight it and you delete it from here. Now, the other thing is that you could have, so let's see, which one did I select for that comparison of empathy? So if I go back here, I can also put comparison of empathy into this group, and I could also put it into this group. So you can have any of these references going into as many of these groups as you want. All right, so we've got comparison of empathy in that one. In our management section, we've got comparison of empathy there, and it's also there. So you can be, as I said, organizing this in as many ways as you want. The numbers will change in here, but they will always sit there. So hopefully that's helpful to you as well. Now, sometimes you will have a referencing style that's not showing up here. So this is where you set the referencing style for your library. You can see that I've got APA 7th in here. If your referencing style doesn't seem to appear when you do the drop down, so you'll get a couple of different options coming in here. You can go into select another style and you can find it in here. If you still can't find it in here, you can add it. So to do that, what you will do is that you will go into Help, EndNote Output Styles, and where you will end up, if you click on that, is here. It will take you to this site if you click on that. So if we go to Help, EndNote Output Styles, it will take you to here. You can put in whatever referencing style you want. So I already have APA, but let's use it as an example. Search. Search. Oh, there it is. All right. And it will give you the options. You then download it. And then what will happen is it will open up in your EndNote library. So what it will do. You'll end up with a page that looks something like this. You will be asked to save it. So you just click this little cross here, save. You'll be asked to name it. So name it whatever you like. I've named this one APA 7th 21 because there was something happening with my APA style and it just wouldn't work. So I just downloaded a brand new version of APA 7th and I called it APA 7th 2021. So you will get the option to name your output style so that you know exactly which one you're working with. So for example, there was another APA 7th. I got rid of that because I only wanted to use this one. So that may be a little bit confusing, but I hope you followed along. If you can't see your output style, your referencing style, you go into Edit, Output Styles, and you can also open this Style Manager to get a bigger view to see what's already in there. And if you can find it in there, you simply tick it. So sorry if that was a little bit confusing. Now, the other thing you can do, and we find this particularly with Vancouver referencing style. Vancouver is an interesting referencing style for the medical students. So I'll select Vancouver. What you need to be doing with Vancouver, it's a numbered referencing style, and sometimes you need to just alter some of the things that are happening with Vancouver. So what I'm wanting to do is I've gone into Edit, Output Styles, and I'm wanting to edit Vancouver because it's not showing up in exactly the way that I want it to. And with Vancouver, you either need to have a number in a bracket in text, or it needs to be superscripted. So it needs to have just a little number above it. And what we can do is we can go into templates, and you can see here the bibliography number. I'm wanting to change that. So I'm going to highlight that. And you can see up here, we've got the option to make the bibliography number turn up as a little superscript number. So if I click on that, and you can see that that automatically changed so that it looks like, the superscript when you're writing something. And what you want to do then is to click the little cross that asks you, do you want to save it? And you say yes. All right, so to do that, again, you go into Edit, Output Styles, choose the output style, which is just the referencing style. Click on the one that you want. I wanted to make sure that I was getting a superscript 1, templates, highlight what you need to change and select that. Are there any questions yet, Zoe?
Sorry, I just had to navigate to the mute. No, there's no questions.
I've baffled you all with science.
No, Ruth's been answering a few. Oh, sorry, Jai is saying they posted some, but I haven't seen them come through.
Okay, there's something in the question and answer section.
Oh, sorry, here we go.
That's all right.
It's quite a few. There's 4 questions. Do you want me to read through them now, or maybe it's?
Yep. Do they relate to the things that I've just covered, or will we just look at them at the end?
Sorry, I'm just reading it.
I think it's probably best that we leave it to the end.
Leave it to the end. That's fine.
They're quite complicated. It might be a bit.
Yeah,
and take a while.
And just as a heads up, these webinars are generally half an hour, but obviously we're going to take a little bit longer, and that's okay. EndNote is a funny, complex, multi-layered cake that needs to be picked at very slowly. So we will run a little bit over time, but that's okay with us as long as that's okay with you. All right. So the next thing that I'm going to be looking at is creating an EndNote reference from, or an EndNote record from a PDF. Now, quite often we'll go off and we'll do some searching. We'll save lots of PDFs into a folder, or we've saved them onto our computer. You can actually create an EndNote record from a PDF as long as it can find, as long as EndNote can find the DOI in that metadata or on the first pages of the PDF. So what happens is that the EndNote magically finds the DOI in the PDF, and then it creates a record and the PDF is attached. So, and you can either create records from just a single file, or nicely, you can also bring in a whole folder of PDFs. So to do that, what you do is you go to File and you go Import, and we'll go to File. And then what you would also obviously do is you go and find your file. Let's see what I can find. We'll click that one. So that's the one I want. And then you've got a couple of options. So here's the PDF that I want. I want it to come in as a PDF. If there are duplicates, you can always choose that. No translation. And I'm going to import that. And what it does, it goes away, it finds all of the information. Here's my my article. It obviously couldn't find all of the information that it needed to create all of this, but what it's done, it's found, at least found it, and it's attached the PDF for me. So you can see that the PDF's there. What I would then have to do is open up the record, double click on the record, and then because I've got the PDF attached, drag that across, I can then start to populate all of these fields because I can see here is my reference. So I will go in and I'll put in the author, the year, the title, and all of those sorts of things. Now, if we, yes, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Jenny, there's just a question on this. Finding full text, what do we put in the 3 fields, student number or email? Sometimes the search engine says error. Okay,
I'm actually, I think, getting to that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so that's next.
Okay, great.
You're reading my mind. All right, so I'll quickly do file, import. This time I'm going to bring a folder across. So again, I will find that folder. And I go, okay. And then you've got the option when you're bringing across a folder, if there are subfolders within that folder, it's probably good to do that. Now, this little bit here is really good because it says create a group set from this import. Well, that'd be handy because what will happen is it'll create a group set over here. And we want it to import as a PDF. And we're going to import all, and we go import. And so you can see it's created the folder here. And it's bringing across, I can't remember how many PDFs I put in that. And it's finding all of the information. And it will. All right, so what it's done, and you can see how nicely it has found the title. It's found the authors. It's even given me the journals, and it's attached the PDFs. And here it is here. All right, so this one I obviously need to go in and do a bit more work on, but it found enough information in all of these to bring me all of this nice information and the PDF. And this little paperclip tells me that there's a PDF attached. All right, so finding full text. What you need to be doing to find full text is that you need to configure things to start with. Now, if I can go back here, we've got this EndNote Getting Started guide, which is off the library homepage. And within, let's see here, attaching files, find full text, we've got all of the information about the find full text command. And it steps you through it here. All right, now you must set this up first. So you can see it's giving you the instructions here. Now you click on your edit preferences again. So much is kept in edit preferences. And then you want to select the find full text. And then you need to put in these URLs. And you have to include all of this information. So let's see what that looks like. Mine's already set up. So we're going into edit, preferences, find full text. And you can see I've got all of these ticked and I've put in my URL. Now this won't be in here, so you'll need to add that. And then you go okay. So this find full text is different to doing an online search. So there is an online search option, which isn't always as effective as this find full text option. And I'm not going to go into the online search today because it is a little bit complicated. So once you've done, once you've set yourself up with your making sure that you've added all of that information to find full text, what we want is we'll go and find. So let's choose that one. And if I hit my control, I can choose that one. And I can choose that one. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting this to go away and find the full text. So what you want to do then is you can either hit this little button up here, it says find full text, or you can go into references, find full text, doesn't matter which way you go, takes you the same way. And then what will happen is that you'll obviously be asked to sign in. So it's your full uni login. It's whatever you use to get into any of the databases, because what you're doing now is that you're connecting with the University of Newcastle databases, and you go continue. And this is going to search through all of our databases. And you can see now we've got this find full text little folder happening down here. It's searching for 3. Oh, it's found 2. It's still searching for 1 more. Can it do it? searching. So what this does, as I said, it goes away and it searches through all of the databases that we have, and it will find, it'll do its best to find the PDF, and then it will attach it to that record for you. Now, there's a couple of reasons why. You can see that there's one not found, and that's because it's a book section and it's from Scopus. So, but the other reason that you might not be able to find a PDF is because sometimes that information, and it's the same when you do a search in the library catalogue, sometimes the PDF isn't attached to the record in the catalogue or when you're looking in a database. It's because it's just buried a little bit deeply. So what you would have to do is you would have to go away and find the journal in the library catalogue, find the volume, the issue, the year, and attach the PDF that way. And to do that, so let's pretend this was an article that we couldn't find. I would go away, try and find the PDF, and then I would save the PDF to my desktop, come in here to the article that you want, click on the little paper clip, and then you can go and search your computer to attach it as you would any other way, you know, any of the other things that you might attach. All right, so hopefully that's answered that question about the find full text. As I say, find full text is different, and you'll be in your local library, to this one, which is doing an online search. Online search tries to search across a range of other databases, but it's not always successful. So as I say, I hope I've answered that.
Kieran's asked another question. It's they're saying some of the library demo videos show the person going through with no need to enter the number and email for use of the search engines and full text requests. And that's, I'm not sure. That's the end of the comment.
Yeah. All right. So as I said, there's a couple of different ways to get to different places. Have a look at our EndNote guide. So we've got the EndNote guide. We've obviously got these videos here. This EndNote guide is excellent as well. If you're still having trouble, always make a time to see us. And if you're, you can book a librarian. Otherwise, you can always, if you're a PhD, you can make a time with your research liaison librarian. We may have to get back to you on that one, Kieran, or you could put your email address into the private chat section, and we'll get back to you. All right, so aware of time. Something I forgot to show you was, you can see this one has got capital letters shouting at us. You can easily fix that. So if I select this article, double click on it, it opens up this section. You can change this by just highlighting it, going up in here and changing it to sentence case. And you start to change. You can do any of your editing in this section, and then select the little cross and save it. And then that's brought it back to being what you want. Always make sure you've got your correct referencing style selected here, and you've got the option to be able to just check, is my reference going to look correct? And you can see that this isn't correct. So you would go in and you would start to do all sorts of editing in there. Now, the most important thing is to make sure you've backed up your library. You need to be able to save. There's two sections to your EndNote library. There's your library, and then there's the data file. The easiest way to make sure you've saved it is to go to File, Save a Copy. Yep. Save a copy. Determine where you're going to save it. Save it either into your documents, your downloads, or your desktop on your computer, and then you know it's there. The other thing that you're able to do is to create what's called an EndNote Online account. Now, this is going to be really helpful because what it will do, it can automatically sync anything that you're working on in your library to another sort of separate EndNote Online account that you've got. And this answers that question that we had before about how do I work across multiple computers. So to set up an EndNote Online account, there's a couple of ways of getting there. You could go into Help and you can go to EndNote Online, and then that will take you to a site that looks like this. And then you can create, you can register yourself for an EndNote Online account. And then what will happen is that your EndNote will save in an online version safely away from wherever your computer is. And if something happens to your computer or you lose the USB that's got all of your references on it, you can still be accessing that EndNote library in a different way. And what you can also do, again, in your Edit, Preferences, click on Sync, and you can make sure that this library is always syncing automatically. So you can enable sync. So you can sync with that EndNote Online account. Now you can tick this to sync automatically. I prefer to leave it unticked, and I like to actually come in and sync whatever I've worked on myself rather than the computer and the EndNote library deciding to sync automatically. So I'll just do that again. To set up your sync, you're going into Edit, Preferences, Sync. And this will reflect your EndNote Online account. If you haven't set up your EndNote Online account, you can always click on there and it will take you to that same EndNote. Now, to manually sync everything, you hit this little button here and that will sync. So it's telling you that it's going to synchronize this library and the EndNote library, your online EndNote library. Now, just as a word of caution with this, EndNote and OneDrive don't work very nicely together. So you can corrupt a whole lot of data in your EndNote library if it's automatically saving to OneDrive. Now, as I've underlined and bolded here, this is just a suggestion. There is a way of making sure that you can choose what is saved to OneDrive. And that becomes helpful if you've saved your EndNote library onto your desktop and your desktop is automatically saving to OneDrive. You can actually turn off the automatic save to OneDrive by following this. As I said, this is going to be recorded, so you'll be able to come back and have a look at that. All right, so we're syncing. One last thing. I'm sorry that this has taken longer than we thought, but it's always good to cover it. So once you're in EndNote and you're going and you're using your Word, you can see that you've got your link to Word, your EndNote up here. You've got the option to be doing a whole lot of things in here to make sure that you are giving a title to your bibliography. You can go click this tiny little arrow and see it says Configure Bibliography. And we go to Layout and you can give it a title. So the bibliography will have a title. And then as we insert references, so there's two ways of inserting references. You can go to EndNote and select the reference and insert. And you can see it's automatically decided that this is going to be called a reference list and it's added my reference. Now, if I needed to do anything to this, this reference, I can go in here and edit and manage citations. I can edit the reference I can edit the reference back in my EndNote library. And this is the only way that you can remove a citation from your EndNote, from your Word document. You click Remove Citation. It won't work to simply delete. Once you've done all of your work in here, it's a good idea to update the citations and bibliography. You've got a whole lot of other things in here that I'm not going to go into today because it becomes a little bit complicated. But just be aware that there are also different things in here you can be doing. But, you know, one of the nicest things is just to create that title for your reference list. And that's something nice and simple, and it makes a clear division between your work here and your reference list. All right. So go back to our PowerPoint. So there's our EndNote Online. Don't forget to sign yourself up for that because there's a new EndNote on its way. The X9 in the EndNote currently talks about EndNote 19. So the next version of EndNote will be EndNote 20. You can see here it's going to be looking a little bit different to what we have at the moment. They've reconfigured the whole look of the thing. And if you've got your EndNote library saved to an EndNote Online account, it's going to make it very easy for you to bring your EndNote across. So again, don't forget there's lots of help guides. We've got the EndNote guide. So the EndNote guide itself, which is like a LibGuide, and then there's also a PDF version of that guide. We've also got lots of referencing guides. EndNote is not perfectly bringing across all of your information without you know, problems. You may need to go in and start to edit your EndNote library. So knowing what your referencing style looks like is really important. I think the most important thing is to be gentle on yourself. EndNote is a very tricky, complicated program sometimes, but there is lots of help. So you can see from the screen, you can always book a librarian if you need more help. If you're a PhD, RHD staff member, make a time with one of your research liaison librarians and we can help you with that. There's lots of help. You're not expected to do this on your own. So any more help, you ask the library.
Perfect. Thanks, Jenny. I might just pop in the second poll just to get a bit of an indication of how we went. If people could just pop in an answer, that would be great.
There is a question, but I feel like we may have run out of time. I'm not sure if we're going to be kicked out at 11.
Yep.
There's just a question about if you put a comment against one PDF, can you look up the same comment across many journals, i.e. supervision, trust, burnout, so I can look up all the references that have mentioned these words?
In your EndNote library, yes, sorry, I should have shown that. You can search. So search panel up here, and you can select any of the things here. So if you put it in as a tag, I don't know whether I've got the tag saved here, but you know, you made a note somewhere. Let's see. Where is it? Say you called it a label. You've labeled a whole lot of your PDFs with certain things. You can type in, you know, whatever it is that you saved as management, and it will search for this word across your entire EndNote library and find anything that's similar that way. So hopefully that's answered that question. All right, thank you. I'm glad that you're somewhat more confident. As I said, the ones that still aren't confident, there's always help. It is a complex, crazy, interesting program, EndNote. So yeah, and go back and have a look at the webinar, have a look at any of the help resources that are available. But also don't hesitate to get in contact with us. As I said, there's lots of ways of us helping you. Ask the library, but you've also got the Book a Librarian, and also for any of our RHDs, you've got research liaison librarians. All right. Thank you so much for sitting through all of that. It's a journey. We're all on that journey. All right. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next time for the next webinar.
Thanks, Jenny.